Hi, you are listening to This Is Not Your Practice Life. I'm your host, Macy Renee, and we are going on a journey together, my friends. I'm a certified life and emotional intelligence coach. And if you really want to step into your highest self, there are a few non-negotiables you're going to have to learn, and I am just the person to help you do it. No matter your past, I'm here to help you create a more fulfilling future. So stick around with me. Not only will I teach you how to navigate your brain's daily mind drama, but I'll help you actually understand your mind, your emotions, why you do the things you do, and why others do the things they do. Most importantly, I'll help you build the self-awareness skills to create whatever results you want. It's never too late to change the trajectory of your life. After all, this is not your practice life. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. Welcome if you have never watched the podcast or listened to the podcast before. And if you're a returning listener, as always, you know I'm so grateful to have you here. So if you're brand new here, I'm not new to podcasting. I'm just new to podcasting where it is now being streamed on YouTube. So if you're a loyal audio listener, you're listening on your favorite podcast app, Pandora, Spotify, Apple, iHeart, wherever you're listening, just know that now you can actually watch the podcast and see my face on YouTube. And that is one of the reasons why there has been maybe a 6 or 7 week hiatus, maybe not even that long. It feels maybe that long. I'm not really sure. But there's been a hiatus from me recording. And that is because when I decided that I was going to be on YouTube, I went ahead and did my best with the setup I currently had and the information and knowledge that I had at the time. And after producing 2 episodes, I just was not super happy with them. And I thought, you know, I'm someone that has been podcasting since 2019 and never on video. The video thing felt very, very daunting for me. It meant learning new programs, ordering new equipment, coming out of my comfort zone. And for any of you all that have not been here a long time, when I started my podcast or decided I was going to do a podcast back in 2019, it took me about 6 weeks, I think, to take the equipment that I had ordered and actually get it out of the box and learn it. I was so terrified to start podcasting. I had no idea how to use any of the programming and how to edit audio and what mics were the best to use. I knew nothing. And it was so daunting that I couldn't get myself to do it for about 6 weeks. And then it was a learning curve, and there were a lot of tears and a lot of crying throughout the way or throughout, the journey of figuring out how to be a podcaster. And I've been comfortable with that same system and setup for, 7 years? That's kind of hard to believe, but yeah, I think I've been podcasting for really close to 7 years, maybe more like 6.5. And I've been comfortable there. And something that my husband shares my podcast with a lot of people. And when we were living in Las Vegas, we don't live in Las Vegas anymore, but when we were living in Las Vegas, he would, at part-time, he Ubered, and he would meet a lot of people, and a lot of people that were amazing influencers, had really big followings on socials, celebrities. I mean, he drove for a solid probably year just on the side, and he met a lot of people, and he would share my podcast with them. And he would always come home and say, Macy, they're asking why you're not on YouTube. Like, they want to be able to consume it on YouTube, or even if they don't consume it, they're wondering why you're leaving money on the table by not being on YouTube. And I would always tell him, like, I'd, kind of roll my eyes because it just felt like, man, I'm pouring a lot in for free. Can people not just be happy with the way things are going where I feel comfortable? But as you know, this podcast is called This Is Not Your Practice Life. And over the, last few years, I've really been mulling over, like, what if they're correct? What if I'm leaving a lot on the table? What if there are a lot more people I could reach by just showing up and doing it scared? So I have been trying to learn a new program It's going to be really interesting to see how it turns out, because right now this is the first official episode that I'm recording with this brand new mic, with this brand new setup, brand new platform. And I have no idea if whenever I get off of here, if it is going to work and if it's going to be delivered the way that I would like it to be delivered. So just hang in there with me. Even though I took, a little bit of hiatus from recording to learn this new process, it's still very new. And I'm sure there will be tweaks and changes that I make over time. So anyways, you guys, sometimes the work in itself is just being willing to feel all of the emotions as you do new things. And it's a scary thing, but you can do it. And I hope to be kind of hope to help lead in that area of understanding that you're never going to be able to escape the humanness of feeling your feelings and doing new things. And it's not all of it's going to be a success. You're going to have ups and downs, but the point is, do you push yourself? Do you get yourself out there? So I'm excited to be back. And I have several episodes that I have been keeping up here to talk about, with you. And here's the other thing. I know that there may be a time where maybe you make fun of me, because here's something else about podcasting that you may not know about me. I don't outline any of my episodes. I never have. Maybe I think out of almost 300 episodes, I have written things down maybe 2 to 3 times so that I don't forget talking points. Outside of that, I don't outline. I don't pre-plan. A lot of times a topic will arise in my head and I go straight into my office, into this very area, press record and go. And back when I was doing only audio and I wasn't committed to doing video, a lot of times it looked like this, closing my eyes and talking into the mic so that I didn't forget anything in my head and it would just flow. So if you happen to see me doing that, just know I'm trying to get into flow. It's not going to always be pretty, but it's interesting. It's kind of a weird dynamic. I'm used to being in front of camera because I Zoom all the time with clients, but doing this on a podcast is quite daunting. Anyways, if you're brand new here, welcome to This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you've been waiting for the return of me coming back, because a lot of my clients have been like, what the heck? Did you quit podcasting? I didn't quit. I've just been learning and trying to grow, the confidence to do this a different way that goes against 6.5 years of comfortability. So we're here. But here's what I want to talk about kind of coming into the podcast, that a friend was Marco Poloing me, and she just said a simple sentence. And this sentence was like, that's an episode I actually don't think that I've done and I want to do. And she used the word delusional. And I want to tell you why being delusional can serve you so well. Now, of course, gaining knowledge is also a really important thing. So being someone who's willing to learn, being someone who's also wanting to grow is called self-actualization. And that is something that is actually measured when we take an EQ assessment, our self-actualization. And it's the pursuit of meaning. It's the desire to become better and to grow. So it is important that we want to do that. But if you've been here for a while, you also know there is a sentence, or maybe like it's 2 words, but it feels like a complete sentence to me. And it's something that people say that I really struggle with, and that is be realistic. And if you've followed me for any amount of time, you've probably heard me say that this is a peeve of mine when there are people that say, well, be realistic about that. I totally understand where people are coming from when they say it. Usually they mean well whenever they're saying it. And for the human brain, it makes a lot of sense to think realistically. It's the safest way to use your brain. Okay. Now, if you're new here, something you may not know is that our brain is literally designed for ease, comfortability, autopilot, and keeping us safe. That's what our brain is designed to do. So if you are someone that wants to grow and evolve, you have to be able to understand that your brain is going to fight like hell to keep you the same person and to keep you in the same place. That's exactly why 6.5 years of podcasting, for a good 4 of those years, I've been told out of love, you should be on YouTube. You should be putting yourself out there. Why are you spending all of this energy and time but not willing to do that? and comfortability, right? My brain was just like, I'm good where I'm at. I don't need to do anything else. There are plenty of listeners that tune in audio. They don't need to see me on YouTube. I don't need to get dressed and ready every single time. I don't want to be in front of the camera. Like, that's too uncomfortable. So the brain tries to keep us safe. And a lot of times when we, have dreams for ourselves, when we have goals or things that we want to accomplish, if you share those dreams or those goals with other people, especially if your dreams and goals are big and not a lot of people are doing them, people will tell you all the time, be realistic. I can't tell you how many times when I was an occupational therapist, I used to be a pediatric occupational therapist, and I worked with birth to age 3 population. So I would go into homes and, I did the safe route. I went to college. I did what my family wanted me to do. I went into the health field. They told me that would be safe. That's where I would make consistent money. That's what I did. And when I decided that I was going to walk away from a college career that I paid about $80,000 to do with no guarantees, and I was going to be this quote, emotional intelligence life coach, there was not a good response. And whenever I said, there's an opportunity for me to make even more money than I'm making in this health field, I was met with so much resistance. And I was met with people who would tell me, be realistic. But let me tell you why I hate that phrase. Being delusional was one of the best gifts that I could have ever had for myself without even realizing it. I was delusional about what it took to be an entrepreneur. I was delusional about really what kind of success you could create. I was delusional about all of it. I didn't know enough. I knew enough to be dangerous and to start my business, but I was really delusional about a lot of things. And here's the thing about being delusional. When you're delusional, you don't have society's box or limitations holding you back from something. And if you don't have any seeds of doubt in your mind and you do think delusionally, oftentimes you can hit markers and milestones and goals that most people can never reach because they walk cautiously around being realistic. So I thought it was, it just really stood out to me whenever my friend said, I don't fit in a box. Maybe I've walked through my entire life being delusional. And I thought, and yet you have created so much of what you wanted because being stuck in the confines of be realistic, think logically, think big, think in possibility, think about what you could have when you are not limiting yourself or letting someone else's limits limit you. It's always impossible until it's done. People always think something is impossible until it's done, whether it's, I don't even think this is the correct stat anymore, but the 5-minute mile was impossible until it was done. Something like an iPhone was probably impossible for a lot of people until it was done. It is an alarm clock. It is a camera. It is recording this podcast right now, and will be uploaded for the entire world to be able to see. I'm sure for a lot of people that was impossible even just 20, 25, 30 years ago. They didn't think it was going to happen. The people who create the things that we use now, even services like Amazon, people have had to be delusional because there was nothing proving the concept prior. So when people invent things or people are reaching these outlandish goals, I think of my coach all the time who can do a launch, meaning that she'll create a program, she'll create something, she'll market it, she'll sell it to her audience, and she'll make $1 million in a day. Most people would tell someone, if she came to most people, okay, I want you to think about this. If she would go and approach most people in the world with the way that their brain operates and go, I'm going to make this program, I am going to sell it to my audience, and I'm going to make $1 million in a day. Majority of people would tell her to be realistic so she wouldn't be disappointed. But you know what is even better than being realistic when it comes to your goals is being delusional. Being delusional and actually believing you can, because our thoughts are things. Our thoughts are powerful. The beliefs that we have are an energetic force that go out into the world and kind of boomerang back to us. It doesn't always happen right away or immediate, or it doesn't always work out the way that we think it should or that it would, but there's always possibility. So something I tell my clients all the time is live in possibility, because why not? Play in possibility. That's what we do as kids. We play, we imagine. And it's so fun to do. We lose that in adulthood. And it's because a lot of times when other people are not able to accomplish something, they try, they fail, or they never try. They're too scared because their brain is doing its job and being safe and trying to protect. And because of that, they don't go anywhere. They live in the box of realism and what's realistic, but it's only realistic for them, because that's the limitation of their brain. So when people tell me, when I say I'm going to hit a goal of some sort, or I'm going to make X amount of money, or I'm going to do this entrepreneurial thing, now I'm 8 years in, a lot of people told me to be realistic. It just wasn't going to be possible. It wasn't going to be possible to keep it steady, to keep it going, to have the time freedom, to be able to do the things. And it has not been a walk in the park. Let me also say that. But I love that I was unrealistic for the people who have never left their box. I love that I've been delusional. Another example of this, there was a coach that I knew years ago, and she actually was in the military. I can't remember her exact story, but I do know that she was in the military for a really long time. Somewhere along the lines, I think she found an article talking about coaching, this coaching thing, and she had a desire to help people. She knew nothing, like nothing. She had never had a business before. She didn't know how much money you could or couldn't make. She wasn't reading, Google articles about how much does a coach make. She had no idea. She literally was just like, you know what? I just want to help people. I just want to help people, and I'm going to go put myself out in the world, and I'm going to do that. And she was delusional. She had no idea what it took to run a business, start a business, serve clients, how much money she could make, nothing. And in her first year of being a coach, she made $1 million, which was incredible. Now, she said there were a lot of lessons that she had to learn, but people would be like, how did you grow it so fast? And she would say, I think the biggest gift that I had was that I was naive and probably delusional about what was possible. Nobody told me, well, you can only make this, you can only do that, or it's going to be like this, it's going to be like that. So I do try to be mindful even whenever I'm sharing experiences about my entrepreneurship. I try to be really mindful that my story is not somebody else's story, and that you can go be delusional. Being delusional in some ways is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself. So I loved that my friend said that just on her Marco Polo, because I look at her life and I'm like, there's so many impossible things she has brought into her life that people are like, oh, probably never going to happen. Probably you should be realistic. You're never going to have those opportunities. But because she believes that she will, she does. And because she doesn't think like everybody else's limitations, she does. And I have so many examples of this with so many of my friends, like just so many. And every time I've seen someone really, really win in a way that looks impossible or people can't believe, if you were to ask them, how did you do that? They're like, I believe that I could. Nobody told me that I couldn't. In many ways, what they say without saying is I was delusional. So I didn't have anybody else's thoughts or limitations limiting me. And I think that is incredible. So the next time that someone tells you to be realistic, just smile and remember that sentence or that statement is based on their belief system, is based on the limitations they've given themselves, on the evidence that they've collected in the world where for them, it hasn't been done. So it looks impossible. And here's the thing, it can come from a very loving place, especially like when it's your parents, when it's your siblings, when it's your closest friends. They may actually mean well. They might not be saying, or your spouse, be realistic because they're trying to sabotage your dreams and your goals. Okay. It's a natural human response because another thing we run from is pain and heartache. We don't like to feel it a lot of times, especially if we don't have the emotional intelligence skills, and we don't like other people to feel it. So your parents, your spouse, your closest friends, when you're like, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go do this thing and I'm going to make this amount of money, or I'm going to go, chase my dream of being an author and writing a book and getting a publisher, or I'm going to go, shoot my shot for this promotion in my corporate company, even though I don't have all of the qualifications. And it's for someone, they're like, wait a minute, you don't have the qualifications, or wait a minute, you don't have the degree, or wait a minute, you don't have the experience. Like, they're using logic. And what their brain does is say, oh my gosh, like this has a really high potential to not work out the way that they want it to. And guess what happens if it doesn't work out the way that they want it to? They're going to be so upset. And if they're so upset, I'm going to be so upset. And so it's this lack of like emotional resilience, emotional awareness, emotional intelligence, and really understanding how to support someone in their quest to do the impossible, right? The impossible, and know that they will be okay if they fall, but you will also be okay if they fall. And that's a whole different episode we could get into, where we try to, I call it holding each other's pins, where we try to control other people's emotional experiences, or we don't want someone to feel a certain way. And so we people please, or we say what we think needs to be said so that people don't have to feel their feelings. We can't escape any of that. And that is something I help clients with a lot. But all of this to say is it doesn't mean it's malicious if someone tells you to be realistic or to think about it logically, or, that's impossible. Sometimes it's saying like, I just don't want you to experience pain. Like, when you're in pain, I'm in pain, and I don't want you to experience pain. And so I think if you thought about this logically, like, it would feel better for all of us, but what people don't realize is, again, those are their limitations. Those are their fears around emotions that maybe they've never sat with, or they don't know how to sit in with you if you do fail. And, it's the way that they are not only protecting you, but protecting themselves ultimately. So go be delusional. I can promise you, go be delusional. It's one of the best things you can do for yourself when it comes to your goals. Play in possibility and be delusional. And I will stand on that forever. Okay. All right. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for waiting so patiently for this podcast. And I can't wait to give you more. Bye. Hey there. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of This Is Not Your Practice Life podcast. If you'd like to connect on social media, you can find me on both Instagram and Facebook at Macy Renee Coaching. And if you want to stay up to date on all of my offers, announcements, and inspirational emails, you can join my email list at macyrenee.com. In addition, if there's a way that I can further support you in your coaching journey, you can schedule a free 60-minute consult at macyrenee.com anytime you want, so we can discuss the best options for you. I look forward to seeing you next week, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.